JJ Redick is one of the biggest names in basketball. And how can he not be? He's coaching the Los Angeles Lakers. But everyone talks about the Lakers. I want to talk about JJ Redick when he played for Duke. Because no one talks about Duke, ever. All jokes aside, JJ Redick at Duke was a movie. I know because I went to Maryland, but I grew up a Duke fan because my dad went there. Before Steph Curry at Davidson, the best shooter that I saw with my own two eyes was JJ Redick. And he was so good, man. The ultimate green light. He wasn't the best ball handler, but that was the beauty of his play. He was so efficient with his moves that he could bury you with one dribble or two dribbles. That was all he needed. But today I want to talk about something that I don't think gets brought up a lot. I think that JJ Redick was one of the perfect video game players for that time. So today I want to take the time to talk about it. This is my video. If you're new here, welcome in, and if you know me, welcome back. Thank you guys for everyone that's liked, commented, and subscribed in these videos. And I also want to thank my Patreon subscribers for that extra support. If you do want to join the Patreon tier, you can join for free. The paid tiers start at $1, so you get these extra little posts from me, whether it's behind the scenes, whether it's pictures of what I'm doing, whether it's my trip at Japan. I want to talk about it, and that's the place where I do. But let's get to the rest of the video. To highlight JJ Redick's greatness, I want to take a look at some stats. In his 4 seasons at Duke, JJ Redick averaged 40% from 3 while taking 8.1 3-pointers per game. For comparison, Steph Curry shot 41% on 9 threes per game. And I'm not here comparing the two, I just wanted to say that to give you a better idea of the 3-point volume levels that we were at. JJ Redick led the ACC in 3-point field goals for 3 years, and is still the ACC 3-point leader all these years later. He's 8th all-time in 3-pointers made in the men's game, and there's only one other top 10 player in the late 2000s that's on that list. Let's take a break from that to talk about the basketball game aspect. We look at basketball games now and not much changes from year to year gameplay wise. You might get a new game mode, you might get a new way to lose all your money, but for a simulation game, there isn't much year over year improvement on the gameplay. This was not the case with basketball games 20 years ago. Back then, there were certain qualities and features about the games that would make the titles a year or two apart feel like absolute night and day. In college basketball, JJ Redick's time really overlaps and syncs with that. For this video, we're going to take a closer look at JJ Redick in NCAA March Madness 2005 and 06. March Madness is the college basketball counterpart to the NBA Live series, and it feels like it gets talked about so much less, even though I think it's the better game. To me, there were more teams, there are more game modes, and this might be biased because I grew up a Duke fan, so I might be liking college sports at that time while I was playing these video games. But the thing that made it stand out the most in my opinion were the gameplay mechanics that were added year after year. The college games would try stuff that the NBA games really wouldn't dive into, and I want to highlight the thing that I think made JJ Redick so unique as a basketball video game player. Before we get into that, we should highlight the 2 things that JJ Redick was really great at: shooting and off-ball movement. Can you tell I like making presentations? In NCAA March Madness 2005, there are 34 players with a 3-point rating over 90, and 7 with a rating of 95 or higher. Redick was an 81 overall with a 95 3-point rating in March Madness 2005. Yes, he wasn't the highest rated 3-point shooter in the game, but he was on one of the best teams in the game, which made him that much more dangerous. For a great 3-point shooter on a team with high prestige, it's Redick and these 2 guys at Michigan State. Maybe that's another video. Bonus points if you know who they are. In March Madness 2006, I only found 6 players with a 93-point rating or higher, and Redick is a 93 in 06, so it's a little bit of a downswing, but not by much. As you can see, he's still not the best 3-point shooter in the game, but I think the other factor that I'm about to talk about really sets him apart. NCAA March Madness had a feature called off-ball control, where you could take control of a player that wasn't dribbling and do a couple of fun options. With this control of off-ball movement, you can call for a pass, or set a screen, or call for an alley-oop, but JJ Redick wasn't really doing that, so skip that for now. So that was what you could do if you didn't want to run a play. But what if you did? Welcome to the Floor General System. The Floor General System was a series of play sets in basketball that you could call with the D-pad. This was a really big deal to me back then, seeing as I didn't know any basketball game at the time where you had the option to call this many plays. So it was really fun to open up the tutorial and see Bill Self talk about how you can call these sets and the other players that you weren't controlling would do your bidding. What's also really fun is that the plays in the playbook would vary from college to college, and if you were in charge of a certain team for a dynasty, you had the option to pick and choose whichever plays that you wanted. Really fun dynamic. Looking at the landscape of basketball video games today, I understand why this wouldn't seem like a big deal. I mean, the current 2Ks have hundreds of plays that can be ran, but I want to tell you that back then, this was a revolutionary idea, especially since this feature wasn't in the NBA Live counterpart. During gameplay, each team had access to 6 different playsets with a little bit more access in timeouts, but the dope part about it was how versatile the plays were for the most part. For example, here on 1-4 high, you could either dribble to either side of the court, or you could pass to any of the 4 players that you would see, and the players would react accordingly. It was a way to keep the play calling simple and make the video game work for you. Another factor that made this easier for the player is that the shot clock was 35 seconds, which allows the player more time to set up plays and run another one if it doesn't work out. In NBA games where the shot clock is 24 seconds, that makes it harder to scroll through the playbook. And by the time it's all set up, if they even get set up, they wouldn't really have that much time to pull off the play. The one drawback of these plays is that the players have to be in a certain spot to trigger the play, whether that's a player having to dribble out of a specific spot or to pass to a player in a certain spot. And for a game made in 2004, I definitely have more leeway for a feature like this. And this isn't really a feature that has been improved on all that much in current games, but I don't think that's ever going to change, honestly. Basketball is so free-flowing in a way that can't really be perfectly 100% coded, so I think I'm getting carried away anyway. So how did all of this work for JJ Redick? As an off-ball player, Redick benefited so much from the off-ball movement due to the play calling. It was fun trying to create the perfect playbook to go along with Redick. There's 3-point, which has JJ Redick going off of down screens, and then there's 3 around 2, which is behind me. But there were so many ways that you could get JJ Redick open in the game that would make him so unstoppable. And this is more of the same in NCAA March Madness 06, where while they did add a new control scheme, the shooting and off-ball controls weren't changed. And that was able to help Redick for his senior campaign. And this was one of the more fun video game experiences that I had as a kid, so whether you loved him or you hated him, I'm glad that you stuck around for the end of this video. Thank you guys so much, I appreciate it. And yeah, if you have anyone else that you want me to talk about in a video game sense, I can definitely craft it up, and see you guys later. Bye!